Hey guys, it's me. It's Queen Aset Haru, and thank you for joining me for another wonderful edition of Ask an Aquarius. If you haven't already, please hit the red subscribe button and smack the bell. Also, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Pass it on to somebody else who might like it, and leave us a positive comment in the comment section. And remember to stay to the end of the video because I am going to read two of my favorite comments. Maybe one of them was your comment. So I want to talk to you guys about what to do during quarantine. A lot of people keep asking me, what's the best thing to do during quarantine? Is it smart to be productive and try to work on like business plans or reading books or learning skills? Or is it smart to loaf around and eat peanut butter in your underwear, in the refrigerator at 7 o'clock in the morning? What is the smartest thing to do for people, who are, we're all in this together. So what's the smartest thing to do? Now, the answer to this question is going to be different for everybody. I don't think there's a one size fit all as far as this is concerned. And most of us who are, experiencing this, because everybody's not experiencing it. People who are essential workers and people who are still working their normal schedules like me really aren't having all this extra time. But there is a lot of people who do have a lot of it. Either they're working from home and they've never worked from home before, or they've lost their job. It's different people in different situations. So they keep asking me, what's the smartest thing to do? Now, mind you, like I said before, it's going to be case by case. If you are the kind of person who is like a real go-getter, the kind of person who is a hustler, the kind of person who up until this happened was always moving, always shaking, always doing your thing, always in the street, always moving, always working, always grinding, always thinking of the next thing or creating the next business plan or taking the next class. If you're that kind of person, this time period, at least some of it, it will be really good if you rested. Because some people I know that are like that never go on vacation, they never rest, they work their behinds off, So those types of people, I think, should at least spend some of the time resting. And that's not to say not to do anything productive if that's what you want to do. But I'm just saying, because of the fact that these types of circumstances are highly unusual. This is the first time in my lifetime that an entire world, an entire planet, went through a massive global quarantine. So these types of things haven't happened before, and we don't know. It's very uncertain how many times, if ever, it'll happen again. So I think that people that never have time should take advantage of this time. That's what I would do. If I had a lot of free time right now, I would just take advantage of being able to rest and being able to, drink green tea in the middle of the day and be able to do yoga in front of the YouTube, on my laptop, I would take advantage of all of the things, soaking in a bath for an hour or two. I would take advantage of all of the things that I couldn't do normally, things I didn't have time for normally. So that's one thing. I think those type of people, it could be a real breather for them. Now, another thing I know to be true, I have the pleasure of having read a lot of history and a lot of literature. And one thing that you find when you read history, when you read literature, you find a lot of people who have already been through this type of trauma. For many of us, this is the very first time, I guess, unless you were around in 1918 for the Spanish flu, this is the very first time anything even close to this has ever happened. But if you're a lover of history and you're a lover of literature, you have the inside scoop. Because even though you've never been through this before, you can read about those who have. There's lots of people who've published their memoirs who went through plagues, who went through traumas, who went through imprisonment. Because some people are comparing quarantine to being in prison. There's all kinds of famous people throughout history who've already published their memoirs, published their journals. They've been interviewed. Their ancestors have been interviewed. These kind of things. Scholars have been interviewed about them. Their journals are on the bookshelf or in your computer somewhere. My point is that we don't have to reinvent the wheel. Shakespeare lived through a plague. Those like Anne Frank, Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King, they went through imprisonments. So it's others that came before us who successfully made it through these similar kind of traumas. So my thing is looking at how did Shakespeare handle the bubonic plague? Those kind of questions is what I ask myself. And I look at their writings during that time. And a lot of times it was by focusing their mind on something that was productive and positive. A lot of people are anxious. A lot of people are depressed. A lot of people are angry. A lot of people are frustrated with having to be inside. So this is the perfect time to focus your mind. Like I said, these people went through similar situations, and what they taught us is by focusing your mind on something productive and something that's good, you will be able to come out of it with your psyche intact. You'll be able to come out of it mentally, emotionally, spiritually healthy. If you or somebody who is, terribly depressed, and depression is one of the ones I really see a lot. If you're somebody who's terribly depressed, allowing yourself to stay in depression, it's like quicksand. Now, I'm somebody who suffered from a lot of depression in my life and anxiety in my early life. And I'm going to tell you, it's like quicksand. Depression is like quicksand. The more you just lay there, the further down you sink. So if you're depressed, you're obviously grieving something. You allow yourself time to grieve, but at a certain point, you got to start picking yourself back up. And only you know when you're at that point that you've grieved all you can grieve and it's time to get up. So when you're ready, when you're at that point, like I said, the best thing for your psyche is going to be focusing on something positive and productive. So I saw this really cool list going around and I added to it. So I thought some of you might want to do some of these activities. Some of you probably are doing these activities. But I just wanted to throw them out there for anybody that's sitting there wondering, like, what can I do to make myself feel better? What can I do to focus? These are some good things that can be helpful. The first one is to watch comedy. There's something called laughter therapy. And they say that if you watch comedy, you raise your vibration. So when you're down and out, when you're sad, when you're anxious, if you can pop on your favorite comedian, it's a very good chance that it might not eliminate the entire world around you, but it may make you feel better. And a lot of studies have been done on this. They even use it in certain treatment centers now. Laughter therapy. You can Google it. It's all over online. And it's basically watching comedy or things that make you laugh, basically. The more positive, the happier, the better, That's why I like to use like the Golden Girls, or one of my favorite comedians. I like Cat Williams. I like Kevin Hart. I like Chris Tucker. I love Dave Chappelle. I watch some of them. And, there's a new guy I like, David Arnold. He's funny. The Schuler King, I'll watch his little clips. Hater Maker. There's a guy on YouTube called Hater Maker Juno. He has these little funny clips. I will watch something like that, and that will shift my vibration pretty quickly. All right. You also can take a free class. Coursera and a lot of other, education, places online are offering classes, free classes, discount classes. So if you find yourself in a situation where you do have a lot of time, it's a smart time to take a class, especially if you can find a free one. The next one says get an adult coloring book in color. They have adult coloring books online on Amazon. You also can use a child's coloring book. When I first started to do adult coloring, I used ones I found at the dollar store. You know, I just wanted to start to get into that groove of letting myself create. And I was like, hey, I'm gonna grab this dollar Barbie one and color it. Why not? It doesn't have to be a particular coloring book. Write a story. A lot of us are very creative with our writing. Write a story. Take lots of naps. Rest as much as you want. Rest is good for the soul. I wouldn't just rest. That's why I said take lots of naps. I would do things in between. Try new recipes. This is a great time to try those healthy recipes that have been in your phone and you've been dying to try, you know? We can't go anywhere but the market. So when you go to the market, get some new stuff for your recipes. Do home improvement projects. You can do small projects, you know, if you're going to Walmart, you can even get paint and stuff like that. So like when you're doing your weekly shopping, you can grab a couple things to do some small improvement projects. My buddy, she had bought this fabric to cover a chair for her bathroom, and she said she had it for like 3 years, and it took her like 15 minutes when she finally just sat down and worked on it. So small home improvement projects can be great. Meditate. If you don't feel like doing nothing, put on a YouTube meditation, lay flat in your bed, or sit up straight, or sit cross-legged, whatever's comfortable, and try some meditations. You ain't got to do nothing but just sit there and listen, especially to the guided ones that are on YouTube. Draft a business plan. Always wanted to do a business but didn't have time to write a plan? Well, now you ain't got nothing but time, or you have a little bit more time and maybe you can squeeze it in there. Draft up that business plan. Update your website. How many of us have websites that are like, I have a friend that does jewelry, and she does spectacular jewelry, but the jewelry's never on the damn website. I'm like, I didn't see this on the website. You know, it's on her dining room table. So update your website. Experiment with video editing. There's software, there's free software, and there's also apps. You'd have to Google this and do a little bit of research for this one. But you can actually do videos like mine and put things in them and smash things together and all kinds of stuff. Add music and all kinds of stuff. So you might want to experiment with some video editing and do your own YouTube channel. Play with podcasting. I was told there's an app called Anchor, and you can do some podcasting on it. Again, that might take a little bit of, you know, experimentation, but maybe you want to do a podcast where you talk about things that are interesting to you. Call your family members. If this is triggering, don't. But if it's not, and they're fun to talk to, or if it's somebody that you like but you don't get to talk to them that often because you're always working, this is a great time to call that old aunt or that cousin that lives in Alabama, you know? This is a wonderful time. Call your family members. Check on them. They're probably, you know, just as bored as you are. Teach the kids something new. I've seen people teaching their kids how to cook online. I've seen people doing a lot of stuff. Some of these kids are going to come out of this quarantine with some marketable skills too. So teach your kids something, you know, that's age appropriate. Paint. I love painting pictures. You guys know that. You know, again, Walmart has all kinds of paint stuff. Maybe this is the year that you start painting pictures. Get a book, you know, you can do abstract art. You don't have to be, you know, drawing like, you know, portraits or something like that, but you can, you know, do abstract or impressionist or things like that. It might just be a fun hobby, you know. They have all kinds of techniques. Again, YouTube has videos that teach you how to paint step by step. Start the screenplay. How many of you have a book, novel, screenplay just dying to get out of you? This is a great time to start that screenplay. Exercise. YouTube has all kinds of yoga and exercise, and there's also other ones too, like DVDs you can order and stuff like that. So exercise at home if that's what you want to do. Read a book from your bookshelf. You may have books like I do that you started and haven't finished, and things like that. Look around, check out your books, and maybe it's time for you to read an old book or read it again. I love the Harry Potter series. Maybe reading that series again, or listen to audiobooks. I really like audiobooks, and the problem is I fall asleep, but you might get a kick out of listening to somebody read to you like your mom did, or my mom did when I was little. Organize your files. How many of us always say we don't have time to organize things? Great time to organize your files. Make a vision board. While you're looking around and you're finding old magazines, or you're finding old things like that, great time to make a vision board. If you have a computer with a printer, you can print out images for your vision board. If you're not sure how to make a vision board, Google vision boards, and you will see videos and web pages and all kinds of information on how to make very easy vision boards. Give thanks for your blessings. I strongly encourage this. This is called the practice of gratitude. And when you're in a situation that's bad, sometimes the smartest thing to do is think about everything that's good. So a practice of gratitude might just be writing down all the things you're thankful for. It might be just stating them when you pray. It might be stating one, once a day, at the beginning of the day, and one at the end of the day. But practice gratitude, especially if you're not feeling good. Address your deficiencies. If you have something going on with you that you've been wanting to deal with, such as, let's say you wanted to whiten your teeth, for example, or let's say you were exercising and then you kind of fell off, like me. Let's say you have one of those kind of things going on, something that you probably are the only person that even notices, but you have something that you want to work on, anything that you want to work on within yourself. Now is a great time since you have time. Maybe you want to grow your hair, or you have other things that you want to do and you have the stuff for it but never did it. Dye your hair, or those kind of things. Then it says worry about nothing. I like that one a lot. This one is easier said than done for people who are having like financial issues, but even in those situations, worrying isn't going to make it any better. So I love when they say worry about nothing. Worry never helps us. Worry makes everything worse. So in the midst of worrying, you don't always remember that though. So try to remember that worrying isn't going to help. Praying, which is the last one, will help more than worrying if you believe in prayer. So the last one says pray. Pray, and you don't have to say fancy prayers unless you want to. You can make prayers, you can Google prayers. But I've come to find that the most effective prayers are the ones that come from your heart. Just straight speaking from your heart. Okay? All right, let's see my favorite comments. Made in Memphis, 1984 said, I stopped watching live TV with no sports being on. Do I have some concerns? Yes, of course. Am I going to lose sleep over it? Nah, not really. Tomorrow is not promised. I keep reiterating to the ones that I care about that this too shall pass. So Memphis is also talking about the pandemic, and that is how Memphis is keeping his or her mind focused and happy as much as possible. And I don't know if I would even want to say focused and happy. I would say focused and at peace. That's what that feels like to me. That feels like peace. It's like, okay, I know I'm in this situation. I'm going to deal with it the best way I can and not freak out. And the last one is from Gimme Cornbread. Gimme Cornbread said, the toughest thing is when you have to do this with one of your own children. I was talking about times when you have to separate yourself from a person because they're toxic. And one of the examples I gave was a friend of mine whose daughter is heavily on drugs. And she finally had to put her out of the house and tell her she can't stay there if she's not clean. So that kind of decision is tough. It's one of the toughest, because it's your child. It's probably one of the toughest decisions in the world. But like I told my friend, I said, either you make this tough decision now, or you keep on enabling her, and only God knows what the outcome is going to be. So the counselor that she's working with, the drug and alcohol counselor she's working with, and the other therapist is helping her work through her codependency, both agree that she made the right decision, and they're just, helping her walk through it. So it is tough. It is tough, but it's the right thing to do. Sometimes tough love is what's going to save somebody's life. A lot of times it's what saves somebody's life, because once they realize that they can't depend on you, you're not going to enable them, then suddenly they have to look at themselves, and in most cases will sink or swim. All right, guys, time for me to get going. If you would like to get a reading done, please email me and come back soon, because I have a lot more to say. See you later.